come through there. You know how the highway is. But they don't come through there slow. They don't obey the speed limit. Nah, never do. So if y'all could get something did, I would appreciate it. I'm 67 years old and I need my rest.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Appreciate y'all.
Anybody else have anything that they want to discuss? Come on, man, I know some of you got something.
I'll pose a couple of questions
All right.
early for you.
All right.
As a general piece, is a question for council to consider as you move forward when we're resurfacing streets here in town, especially when we get to a lot of these that are very narrow, that are, barely 1 car wide, maybe a car and a half. Would we consider, or hope y'all would take into consideration resetting them to where they're, at least where cars could pass each other for safety of people walking or driving in general? To ask if y'all would consider some of that, putting it into the budgets and work through it when you're selecting streets to redo. So, just to give us more space.
Like doing the ditches you talking
some
about?
of the cleaning some of the ditches, or actually widening the paved surface, where you can pass without having to drive off into a ditch to go around. Things like that.
Okay.
Be nice to get some of that going.
All right.
Now that you've said that, I won't have to.
Well, let me just say this. I mean, I know some of you hear it too. There's a fine line whenever you start trying to do these ditches. People have been used to the mowing out to the streets, and because the grass goes out all the way out there, and they're used to mowing that without having a ditch itself. A ditch is ugly, at least for a while, until the grass starts growing in it, and there is some problems. But we do, whenever we did these other streets, and whenever we dug the ditches, or I guess that's what you'd call it, and then they were pretty bad for a while, and we tried to make do as best we could. But that is an issue. Whenever somebody said, well, why you had to get these ditches cleaned out? And a lot of times, it's because that sometimes whenever you clean them out, you hear all kinds of problems, that I was able to mow out to the street until you did this. And so, we're not that we tried to visit with the owners beforehand to try to find out a workable solution. But sometimes, when you're redoing these ditches, I mean, there's not a good way to do it to where it doesn't make a mess for a while.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Those culverts you'd have to move out. Driveways and streets, and just to make room to make them back wide. I don't know what the standards should be. 17, 18 feet minimum.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question.
All right.
So, since I'm new to all this, and I may have supposed to have already known the answer to this, but I'm coming from the citizen standpoint at this point. But so once they come through this alley and they finish their work, and like for example by the salon we have those huge metal plates, at what point is all of that going to be resurfaced, and are we not going to go and just do patchwork? Can it be nice and neat? But at what point is that going to happen?
Well, what it is now, I called the engineer the other day because I just saw one line going down there, and I knew that there had to be two because they were going to do the sewer and the water at the same time. And so he told me that because apparently the water line that's in there now is very brittle, and so they're going to do the water line and then come back and do the sewer right now. I mean, just right after that, and so they'll get through with that. Now, here's the issue involving all the money that's being spent on these it's about $4 million for all this water and sewer work. That we're not going to have enough money to do everything that we initially planned. Now, to answer your question, how we're gonna look at this is, we may have to come out of reserve with some money to finish this stuff right. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like the patching any more than anybody else, but that's what was, the patch was what was in the engineering diagram to start with.
Yeah, well, the plates, they're humongous, and the more cars that come over them, they're shifting. I
Yeah.
mean, there's some pretty good gaps in there, but I see so many people that trip on them every single day, and at some point, somebody's gonna get hurt, and then they're gonna come to us, and then we're really gonna be in a bind.
Well, they're gonna get through with that. When they get through with that, they're gonna fix that drain. There was a catch basin in there for the
Mhm.
storm sewer,
Mhm.
and they're gonna fix that after they get the lines laid in. Hopefully, it will be soon, but I don't know when. They're getting into the winter time now, to whenever, if it starts pouring down rain, they're gonna start being limited, and activities they're gonna do. There's still gotta be some more work done, either on, like Soda Street. There's also gonna be going back here on Dallas Street. There may be some more but we've got, I forget, a little over $500,000 left out of the bond that was gonna do the sewer line. And, so it's gonna be limited on what we're gonna be able to do out of that money, and then we'll have to look and see. We may have to do some of the rest of it with reserve funds, if that's what the council wants to do. Soon, I hope.
Yeah. I just hate to think we come in and tear it all up and we just leave it. That's kind of what it feels like.
No, that's not gonna happen, but I don't know when to give you an answer about when it'll be fixed. I mean, hopefully he'll be through with all that and then reset the storm drain there, and then he'll be away from that deal, and they'll be able to close up most of the other stuff where you see now a patch in the road that is actually gravel. And so they'll be, patching that once they get to that point, and then he'll be starting back going down this way. And it's gonna be a mess down there when they start doing that.
If it's brick though, they'll be putting brick back.
Yes, they will.
And they've already put that brick back on Walnut Street, I see that.
Some of it, yeah.
The patching I've seen done with the hot mix, they're cutting it out and putting a nice patch back in there so it's asphalt done. I'm satisfied with what I've seen, the work that they've done. And I know they want to get several of them so they can do them all at one time, or a majority of them. Because you're gonna have to bring a load in there, so you want to use it all. 10 or 12 yards probably at a time.
I am Bobby Hardy, and I'm here as a representative of the Excelsior Foundation, the Jesse Allen Wise Garden Club, and the Excelsior House Hotel. I wish to appeal to you as members of the City Council next January, or whenever, you vote a blanket okay to close the streets for events in Jefferson, that you think very carefully about what you're doing to the guests at the hotel. It makes for great difficulty for our staff, our manager, and the people who stay here. It is my understanding that every month this year, we have collected and paid to the city of Jefferson approximately $1,900 a month in hot tax. Now, we don't expect special consideration for that, but you do need to consider that we are a hotel. We have people who come to Jefferson not just for events in town, but because they're here. If you remember recently, Jefferson was voted the #2 small town, I think, in America. I'm not exactly sure. I think that's correct. And people come here because they hear about Jefferson. They love to find out about this small town that we're all very proud of. And I will cite one specific example. This last weekend, or what weekend before last, for the Taste of Jefferson, we were expected to close Austin Street in front of the hotel, have our guests move their vehicles by 7 a.m. on Sunday morning for an event that started at 12 noon. Nancy Canson, our manager, did negotiate, after lots of consideration, a 9 o'clock closure. We had several people who were greatly inconvenienced. They were older guests who came here not for the taste of Jefferson, but because they had heard about this unique little town. And it created great difficulty. That's just one example. And because we've had a full house every weekend for a long time, and especially, as you know, during the month of October, when Jefferson has as many guests as we do. And it's not easy. We have an old hotel, as you very well know. Go back to the Taste of Jefferson. Nancy Canson, the manager, had to take the guests' luggage through the hotel back to the alley to put in their cars. And this event did not begin until 12 noon. That's not right. I'm sorry. That you just, and I know that street closures are not particularly the most important thing on your agenda, but as I understand it, in January, you gave a blanket okay to close the streets for any event that happens in Jefferson. I'm sorry, I thought that's what you told me the day I went to
I'm
your
sorry.
office.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it that way. The only thing, usually what they'll do is whenever the permit comes in, and more times than not, we just go ahead and approve it as presented, more or less. It wasn't necessarily a blanket situation, but generally they haven't been questioned before. You know, whenever you came and talked to me about one, that it was a deal where I thought, well, you know, this event has been going on for years, and I was never aware of a problem there, and then all of a sudden it is, and that was the only thing.
Well, the first time when I came and talked to you several weeks ago, it was because the streets were closed on Thursday for the tractor event. And if you remember, I took pictures at 7:15 on Saturday morning, and there was not a soul on the streets from Polk all the way down to Market Street. And just, I mean, the consideration that we're asking that the city council give us is not special consideration, but consideration of our guests and the inconvenience that it causes to people who visit this town. We got a very, maybe not very bad report, but this particular lady gave us on TripAdvisor some detrimental a review that was not real good. And that's not good for Jefferson. I mean, not only does it hurt the hotel, it hurts Jefferson, because she talked about why did the streets get closed, and why did they, as guests who check in, actually there were 2 nights, everybody who stayed with us during the month of October, I think except maybe 1 or 2 guests, have been 2-night guests. In other words, they come on Friday and they check out on Sunday. And they expect to check in at 3 p.m. and check out at 11 a.m. And so it is an inconvenience. And I hope you understand where we're coming from, and that we don't expect special consideration, but we do expect some consideration for the guests who come in. Do you have any questions that I might answer for you?
Well, the only thing I'll say is that we'll take a look at those a lot closer from now on.
Yes.
I
And
mean,
you told me you would, and I know that
I
you
apologize
will.
that, because we just, you know, I can't speak for the rest of the council. I mean, we all get that in our packet, but I never knew there was a problem up till now, and so
Well,
we will address that.
I did talk today to Nancy specifically about last year's Taste of Jefferson. And we were not expected to close the street or to, make our guests move their vehicles prior to their 11 o'clock checkout. And the problem was we were told we had to move at 7 a.m. Now why? That's not good.
Well, and I think the tractor event was a real eye-opener on easily passing those road closures, because it seems like lately we've been a little more careless with them and not really looking, because I know even on the burn benefit, there was a lot of empty space on the road in front of us as well that, maybe they were taking a little extra space that didn't need to be taken in extra days. But I mean, I absolutely agree with you. I think
Well, thank you very much. I
have to
appreciate that.
maybe narrow some things down, not give everybody
Yes.
so much space on
And
every
I have a
side.
lot of pictures to document what I've been talking about. I'm not just talking. So if you need to see the verification of what I'm saying, please let me know and I'll be happy to share them with you. And thank you very much.
Well, I saw somebody walk in, and I know one of her major concerns.
And that's not why I'm here. I'm actually afraid to
No.
mention something to
You reminded
I'm
me.
so sorry to interrupt.
Hey, you're fine, you're
It's
fine.
important.
This is informal, so.
Yeah, but in her situation, we live in the same neighborhood, obviously. So, but when we're talking about the roads being kind of patchworked and stuff around the junior high, we've got a really huge mound that is developed that is causing parents to have to shift and drive around, and I don't know what the answer to that is. I hate for us to come in and shave something down and it pop back up, but so that's one of our concerns.
Is
But
that on Harrison Street where
Yes.
the trash truck is?
That's where the
Yes.
trash truck turns.
Yes.
It's terrible.
It is. It's gotten so bad, and the school buses are having to come down and take that big left turn right there. So you're trying to go around the big big hump. But that was one of the concerns. But the other concern was where that family lives. Yesterday, from my understanding, the road was tore up for them to do some water work or something down there. And when she left to get her kids from school, she couldn't get out. And so I would hope that we could do something better as far as communication goes. If we send out letters downtown to people when we go to close a road, we don't notify them necessarily that they're not going to have water, because I've had to come and ask that too. But for people like that live on a dead end, I mean, if they need to make arrangements to get their kids, there's no way for her to go unless she's out in somebody's yard driving through. But that was a big concern for them yesterday. She was late getting her kids because she couldn't get out. So her deal was communication. Can we come in and tell somebody, hey, we're fixing to tear your road up and you can't come out in the next 30 minutes, But that was her concern.
Yeah, we need to notify those people. If it's only one way out, that's a no-brainer there.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Jesus.
I guess if I'd seen them out there fixing
You
to
could
tear
have
it up, I
emergency-
would have ran out and
They
said,
could
hey.
have emergency, and have to get out.
Give them the opportunity to pull the vehicle on the other,
That's what
the
she
other
said,
side.
but, communication, I mean, we've been concerned every day this week about the water being turned off, because we knew it would be coming, but, the people in the neighborhoods are just as important. If we're gonna go and work on their stuff and block them in, we need to let them know.
Yeah, there wasn't, I know on Bateman's Alley and the work they're doing now, there was no communication from the city to the people along Bateman's Alley or the businesses that back up to it, what the schedule is. I mean, Skinner's, for example, has a dumpster, couldn't get dumped on Monday, or this morning, and with the way they're working, it's not gonna get dumped Thursday, or Friday morning probably, and so, and it's full, and so they're stuck with nowhere to put trash, and some notice of that, they could have had it moved, and I was watching, so I got my stuff up and tried to tell people as I saw them, but the lack of communication on that kind of project is problematic.
Yeah, let me ask a question. Are any of y'all in the room getting like notifications from the county via text, like when the burn ban goes on, comes on. That probably something we could look into that the county has now with their 911 system, to where they can send a text out to. I'm not sure if they can develop a geographic area inside of the city limits, but they have texting capability over there now to be able to text everybody to tell them of an emergency, or the burn ban is on or the burn ban is off. So we might check with them and see if we can't maybe send out a blanket text to our citizens to tell them what's going on, if we have something going on inside the city limits that's going to affect them. That's a great tool for us to maybe start using in the future. And it's relatively new to the county.
I'll say I don't get it, so I wasn't aware of that.
But some of y'all are getting those texts. Okay.
And where we've been putting the street closures on the consent agenda, we may have to put those on the regular agenda and ask somebody to come so we can talk to them as they present.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anything on the consent agenda could be, they've always been put there in the past, but I mean, we can always ask about that. I'll be a little more diligent about when somebody brings in a request to change it, but, we'll want it on the consent, on the action items, that's fine, but you can always, look at those and say, hey, did we, or any of the people that come here as an event, hey, have you talked to the people, have you looked at other alternatives? But I'll stay on that a little more than what I was. I just wasn't aware, basically, until we all done that.
Another thing on the street closures, that consideration on all the businesses needs to be taken. I mean, you need to consider what happens to, I'm speaking not only for the Excelsior, but for the other businesses. When you close a street, what happens to the people that are coming to shop there to spend their money, that the taxes come back to us from what they've spent, So you need to consider what you're doing to the businesses when you're closing the streets. And of course, as chairman of pilgrimage, I'm going to ask for the streets to be closed for our pilgrimage parade, but we try to keep the time that they're closed just as short as possible. So that's all I was saying. Consider that. So.
Just something maybe for discussion and see what the folks out here think. I've had, down through the years, I've had several people ask me why we have diagonal parking on Austin Street and Walnut Street. I know, I come out Lafayette from my office and turn to the right and inevitably have to wait on somebody else to come through. How do y'all feel about changing all of that back to parallel parking?
I'm for it. I think it'd be a whole lot safer parallel park than diagonal, personally. It'll cut down on the number of parking
One.
It'll cut way down on the number of parking slots
That's
you'll
not
have.
much, is it?
You lose one.
Just one?
per street? One per street.
Is that all?
That's it.
Well, shoot, yeah, it'd be safer.
You know, if
Easier.
everybody will park, if people will park inside of their square,
Inside the box.
inside the
Straddle
box.
lines and everything else.
That's the main thing. But, down through the years, I've heard a lot of conversation about that, the danger, and somebody coming out from between two vehicles that are diagonally parked, that they're hard to see. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there and see what everybody thought here, because, I can live with it one way or the other, but it has been a topic of discussion with several people that I've talked to that, that just casually say, well, y'all ought to change that back so two cars can get down the street at one time.
I've also heard about, making some of the streets one way during certain times of the week.
Heard that too.
Boy, that'd be confusing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I've heard about that. People ask me about, why don't you
I have too.
make these one-way streets, like Austin would be one way, Lafayette would be another one, be
I thought we'd
another
pick
way.
up more parking spots, with the diagonal, but I was standing there one day with the engineer and Alan both, and they said no. Said you'll you'll actually lose one. Alan said it first, and then the engineer said, yeah, you'll lose just one. So I would have thought it'd been.
The thing you'll cause more than anything else is there's certain people that won't try to park parallel park, but they will at an angle.
Yes,
But if
sir.
you had some additional lots, like if you could talk Billsby into finishing his lot and just making it available until he only shuts it down once or twice a year. But lots like that at an angle where people had an option to park in the street or park in an angle in a parking lot, like in a bank.
You know, you got all this parking down here. I mean, we don't really advertise or anything down here by the, you know, of course, we try to keep as many people off the lot where the boats park. But, you know, all around.
That's a good walk.
It is a good walk, yeah.
I don't disagree with that, except when we have hotel guests who have luggage and who have to tote their luggage in and out, that presents a problem. And, I mean.
You talking about parking away from the property?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
You could always do a loading and unloading zone in front,
Yeah.
key a couple more spaces.
You know, one thing I've noticed too, and I think I talked to you, Bubba, about this, on Austin Street, in the block with the hotel, I have noticed recently that vehicles park, if you're going, the eastbound lane, you should be parked in those parallel parking places eastbound, not westbound, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I just wonder, do we have any rules here that apply to the way people park their vehicles?
No, they're supposed to be parked on the correct side of the road,
Well, they're not.
but you know, they park every which way,
Uh,
you know.
This is Jeff.
Always
It's that small town mentality, Miss Bobby.
Well, I know that. I understand.
But yes, ma'am, if it's a problem, we certainly want somebody, you know, hollering at the police department to maybe get to those people and ask them to move, or, you know, I mean, I know that, you know, during Mardi Gras, you know, they point me as the mean man sometime to move vehicles, you know, and if we can't find them, then we pick them up and move them for them, you know, but, yes, ma'am, I mean, I've even had the highway patrol officer get on to me for parking on the wrong side of the street at my own house.
One thing you mentioning Mardi Gras does remind me of this. Most of the guests who come to the Excelsior House for Mardi Gras are here for Mardi Gras.
Yes, ma'am.
And the people who come primarily for pilgrimage are here for pilgrimage. And they expect for the streets to be closed for both of those parades, but not for 4 days.
Right.
And so I hope you see where we're coming from.
Yeah,
That it's,
absolutely, yes, ma'am.
the people who come to Jefferson because they've heard it's a wonderful little tourist town and we have lots to offer, they're not prepared for the streets to be closed every time they get here, or as often, or for the duration. That's the real issue, I think, is the time. Thursday through Sunday's a little long, don't you think?
Well, the event planners also could take into consideration how many are coming for their event. Like the tractor's a great event, the antique tractor, a great event. But if they didn't have 25 tractors registered on Friday, and didn't have but 10, then they could adjust the street closures for the number of vehicles that they
Yes, ma'am.
had coming. The car,
Yeah, well, that was the first one, and you know,
Sure.
I think
Oh,
you
yeah.
always
You
learn from
learn.
that. And
you learn.
I know I've talked to Don, and you know, they all,
It's a
you know,
great
Francine's here. I mean, you know, it was a good event, but they learned from that. We'll, you know, move on to next year. That's the thing. This was a kind of a learning experience for me too on everything. I just didn't, you know, if you don't know, you don't know.
We always learn something. Every time we do it.
And I know the Burn Run staggered our closures and made accommodations for all of your guests, including offers to ferry them
Right.
back and forth to their
There was
vehicles.
no place to park over behind the courthouse like you had
Yeah, there
Well,
was,
not when,
we had a lot
when
of
we
people
checked
in,
on it, there was not.
there was quite a few. We had people parking in it off and on from the thing, so, I mean, we never got any calls to help find parking for anyone, so, you know,
Well, you had
That's a
told me
side
that
there,
there would
too.
be someone there to
There-
help
there
people
was-
park, and
there
there
was
wasn't.
there was a
anyone
telephone, there were people manning the barricades, but there were a telephone number to reach someone for assistance on the notices. I mean, that's, even the events can only do so much. I mean, we notified 10 days out in advance. You know, the city doesn't even require notification. I mean, that's something that really ought to be addressed on the event closures. Require notification of the businesses along where the streets are. So many days out, whatever, so
Yeah.
accommodations can be made.
At one point when we first moved downtown, the Corvette show came, and you know that's not something that I had attended all the time, and so I was surprised. And like the very next event, whatever it was, Gary came by and passed out slips of paper to let us know. But that doesn't happen very often unless Hugh's involved with it. I've noticed that we may actually get something of some sort, you know, ahead of time, because we do have elderly, you know, that need to be able to get to us. And he did offer to help, and I just told my clients, you know, let us know when you get here, tell me where you park, and somebody will come and shuttle you in. But you just have to have that communication, whether it's downtown or in the neighborhoods for us normal people.
The count back, going back to the code red thing for the texting, Judge LaFleur chimed in on it that there's a sign up, you have to opt into it. It's not an automatic number pull, but it's on, for them, it's on the county website, and you just register yourself, and it will then send you all the notices automatically from the county's website. It's called Code Red.
Yeah, isn't there an app? Is there an app for it?
He didn't mention it. I think there is.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, there is an app.
My phone doesn't do apps too well.
Okay, well.
You and Mary need to get new phones.
That will do.
Still get text. You got a flip phone.
Yeah.
They need to join the real world.
You may be the smart one in the room.
I agree with you, they are.
Anything, anybody else you see anything, any questions that come up on that?
Not that have come in. Could you give kind of folks an update on the various grants and stuff that we've got out and pending, or what we've got?
Well, basically, the grant that's virtually complete is that Texas Capital Fund grant for $500,000 that brought water and sewer and to Sefco. That's all but finished up now. I mean, he's really finished. We hadn't done the finished paperwork yet, and fixed all the holes and got everything else, but it's in operation and everything now. The drainage grant, we call it, is I'm going to have a meeting tomorrow with a lady from Austin. We've already been given the grant, but she's coming back to meet with some of us to get this thing kicked off. We hadn't heard anything about it in a couple of months, so we've got to get that done. That'll redo drainage from, it'll do primarily from around Vale Street area, around where the bakery is, but most of the money's going to be spent from where the car wash, Ed and Joseph Car Wash on the Triangle, all the way down to the pump station to redo all that. But we're hoping that we're going to be able to do more than that. I've talked to Gary Trailer and others, and we're going to try to get more than that, but we'll have a meeting tomorrow on that. The planning grant that I'm going to be kicking off, I don't know anything yet. I got to get with the engineer. I'll talk to him tomorrow. It's just a city planning grant that was done like in 2003, and so I'll know more about that, but we've got that grant. We do not know right now about safe routes to schools. They have not been, that's approximately $750,000, and we don't know anything yet. They haven't picked anything. And then it's another community development block grant that we scored high enough, but we do not know anything just yet for a sewer line on this around Canal Street and stuff back on the other side of the railroad tracks over there in that area. So that's kind of where we're at. If there's anything else that's slipped my mind.
Thank you.
Was there any changes when you passed last week in the burning ordinance? Was there any major differences?
Not a lot. We've got the, we make a copy, we put, some of that's gonna be in the gym this time, but, we couldn't afford to put all 4 pages in there, so.
Okay. Basically, it describes the historic district that is a flat no burn from 5 o'clock Thursday until 8 o'clock Monday morning. If you live outside of that, over there by the high school, elementary school, it's okay to burn on the weekends, but downtown it's not. We don't want people burning treated lumber or any plastics, things that are already prohibited by state or federal government. Okay, it's going to be an educational process. We don't want people burning diapers that have plastic backings on them. We don't want them burning plastic bottles. All of this stuff puts off carcinogens, and we don't want that in the air. Of course, shingles and any kind of building materials, only non-treated materials can be burned. Okay, and
well, we do have those type of things being burned in barrels. Who's the best person to call? The police or the fire department?
Police department will take care of that ordinance.
And it'll be in effect once it's printed in the paper. It'll be enforceable at that time. So I'll say next Monday, I imagine, because we only had to put it in a weekly paper one time. So once it comes out this time, that we should be ready to go as of Monday.
So the expanse, the geographical lines are drawn. It basically has everything from 59 Broadway, Soda, everything back towards the river. It's not exactly the historic district, but it encompasses more than what we consider the historic district. But basically everything from Broadway back that way is okay. And then down in Howelltown, what we call Howelltown, which is out 49 East, this past Broadway, it's okay for people to burn even on the weekends.
So across the tracks, it's okay.
Yes, sir.
In thinking about the plastics and stuff, has a recycle program been thought about or checked into, or what's involved in
we
city?
talked to Republic about that. I can't exactly remember. It's an expensive proposition, and it's an educational.
They do the
Thank
recycle at 2 of the county.
Yeah, 2 of the county dumps, they do recycle already. But here in the city, we haven't been.
I would imagine it would be expensive.
Yes, ma'am.
China quit buying all that stuff, I guess.
Yeah. But like I said, it is going to be an educational process for the community. People, especially who burn in their burn barrels, they don't realize and understand what toxic materials are coming out in that smoke, and people are breathing that. And the state and the feds have identified all that stuff, and we're basically just incorporating that into they supersede our ordinance anyway on the burning because of the air quality and water quality and all of the EPA regulations. So we're just kind of incorporating that into our ordinance so that we can help to educate the public, as to those things. Let's rid of those things in other ways other than burning.
Y'all a question, and y'all be up front and direct. Now, where is a car wash for?
What is what?
Where is a car wash for?
What is the car wash for?
Yes. So do your cars, right?
Yeah.
A resident is a resident, right?
Yep.
It's not a detail place. door, playing radio. If you're gonna do that, do it the car wash.
Well, I mean, people can, you know, it's pretty much free enterprise. I mean, people can detail a car at their home. I mean, I detail my cars at my home.
Yeah, but you stay there.
Yeah.
How you gonna go get 2 or 3 more cars that don't stay in the area? And you,
I mean, if they're disturbing the peace, then you call the police department, let them come and take care of it.
all right.
So, I mean, that's their job. You know, if they've got loud music up and that kind of stuff and it's bothering the neighborhood, then, you know, I mean, that's one of the things that I see the police department all the time, either stopping vehicles or hollering out at them and telling them to turn that music down. All the time. I bet you more times than I've seen them stop somebody out on the highway, I've seen them do that for loud music. So, you know, we want to allow you to rest. We want we want, you know, people can listen to their music inside their vehicles without it banging out, you know, to where people 2 blocks away can hear it.
All right, I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen.
All right.
JoJo, you didn't have any complaints? Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
JoJo snuck in here on
Yeah,
it.
he did.
I'm tired of the year around here.
All right, there's nothing else, as far as you know, there's nothing else, any other questions that you're aware of?
That I seen.
All right, well, we're dismissed.
Thank y'all very much.
All right, thank y'all for coming.